Hello and welcome. It is Monday, only 4 days till Friday. 1 day till December. High of plus 35 degrees today. So don't get a sunburn. We thank God for all the nature, the snow, and the grass, and the birds, still birds hanging around, the deer that we see. And we just hope that God's nature puts our heart at peace and dimples on our cheeks. Okay, I want you to go to page 36, please. Page 36, and we'll start correcting homework. This is just function notation, so I'm going to let you look at 3 and 4 and 5, but we'll scroll down to 5 in a bit. Make sure for this guy, you bring down the subtraction sign. Okay, so sometimes I see students lose this negative sign in the bracket. That's not the subtraction sign. You have to get a double sign there, subtract and negative, because x turns into -6, and it's subtract x squared, so it's subtract negative x, or -6 all squared. This one is a bit weird, but you can just do this in your calculator as well. We'll learn that a shortcut in grade 11, that radical 3 times radical 3 equals 3. Radical 7 times radical 7 equals radical 49, which is just 7. So that's a shortcut you can use, or you don't have to. You can just plug that in your calculator, and your calculator will give you 3. So that shouldn't have been a problem. And then just make sure you know this means f of 2. That's a fancy dancy way of saying f of 2, and that's a fancy dancy way of saying -7. Told you about this one already. Once you put a in for x, leave it. You can't do anything else. That's all. That's all there is to it. So don't lose a half a mark by trying to make up some math. Here's number 5. You had to do a, and again, I wouldn't even do this part. I would just plug this line in your calculator, and you'll get 65. Okay, we're now on page 37. And if you have any questions, just pause and ask me on Google Meet. Next page, there's number 6. You had A, B, C, actually you had all of them. And again, you need to know that this means find f of -4. Double sign right here. You can have images. You can have images. You can have decimals. That was what I said. Images. Good word. You can have decimals in function notation. You do it the same way and punch it in your calculator. And this one you distribute. A 2 times a binomial. Here's your function. 2 times a binomial, 2 times x, or subtract 2 times x, and subtract 2 times that. Don't forget to collect like terms. Okay, you don't want to lose a half a mark because you didn't do 8 subtract 6, because we can all do that. Number 7, you can see A. Let's do A, and then I'll scroll up to see. Every time you see an x, you put -x. So if you put in brackets, it doesn't matter because you're not going to put it in calculator. Put in brackets, you know that this negative is -1. And -1 times -1 when you square it is 1. Okay, so that's why there's no negative sign here. Negative times negative is positive because it's inside the bracket. And then you got negative times negative. This one's a positive 2. And then see if you can collect like terms. You cannot. That's it. That's a trinomial answer there. For B, this is one where we did one and start it because it combines 2 units, functions with multiplying polynomials. So you have to rewrite and FOIL this. This person either did that in their head or they did it on the side and collected like terms. Okay, rewrite and FOIL, and you get negative 5 squared subtract 5, or sorry, 5x subtract 5x. So that's how they get the negative 10. You don't have to do it in your head, but I guess they just want to save some space. So you probably have another line here where you collect like terms to get the 10x, and then you distribute. And I would add those together to put 1. And then you collect like terms, add the x's, and add the 75 plus 1. All right. That should be getting a little easier, and still a hard question for sure. Now you got these guys in 8 where, so still on page 37, these are the opposite. Remember we did this one, and the common mistake is that students do f of 43, so they put 43 wherever x is, and that's not what you do here. It says f of x equals 43, so you replace this with 43 and then solve the equation. Okay, and 1 out of 3 questions you're going to get like this, so make sure you know how to do them. We have to do C, D, and E. So it says find T, and remember, if I gave you G of 11, I'm giving you T. This one doesn't give you T, it gives you G of T. So that equals 11, and then they do a terrible job of showing their work here. Oops. So 11 equals 56, I can say that. 11 equals 56. Subtract 3t. Okay, so you can subtract 56. Remember, you want to get t by itself, so you get rid of everything with that's with t on the same side. And then and now you divide by, so you add or subtract first, and you have to divide by negative 3 here. Don't add 3. Make sure you know how to do this. And you get t equals negative 45 divided by negative 3. Similarly, when they end up, this turns into 22. Okay, it says h of x equals 22, and there's your h of x, so just put 22. They need to do a better job of showing their work. So you subtract 1 on both sides, divide by negative 3. You get negative 7 equals x. And here you substitute negative 25. And I'll show you what they're doing. They're still not showing their work, but what they're doing is they're bringing the negative x squared and negative x to the other side to make it positive, so they don't have to divide by negative. So they're adding 3x squared. We'll learn how to do that in solving systems. There's no sense of going in depth about it now. And then so they want the numbers on one side and the letters on one side. So that's how they're doing it. I think it's more complicated than, for now anyway, until we get to the solving systems unit. And then they divide by 3 instead of dividing by negative 3. X squared equals 25. Square root. Don't forget 2 answers, positive, negative 5, right there. If you want to do it where I bring the number, add or subtract first question, it would be here, negative 25 equals 50, subtract 3x squared, subtract 50 first, get negative 75, and divide by negative 3. That's the trick. You have to divide. If there's a negative number with x, you have to divide by it so the negative signs cancel and the numbers cancel. Okay, so it doesn't matter how you do it. If you like this way, that's fine. That's awesome. That's even better. And once we get a whole bunch of questions, I'll be saying do it this way. That's going to help you get make less sign mistakes. All right, now add or subtract first question is what I would do, and either way you get the same answer, so it doesn't matter if you bring the numbers to one side and the letters to one side, or add or subtract first. Up to you. Okay, flip the page. If you need some more time, just pause it and correct. We're doing 10 and 11. Oop, that would be 11. 10 was just a square root one. And, well, I guess this is a good one. Start this one. This is something is the opposite of what we usually do. Yeah, we already did this one. This one just means the function is square root. So wherever you see an x, and you see an x whenever you have a number in the bracket, that's the x. Because it's c of x, so c of 16 means x equals 16. You should be able to see that just by looking at what I did there. This, again, is just like what we did in number 8. So this, you can't or don't do c of 9. That's not what it says. It doesn't say find c of 9 like it does here. It says c of x equals 9. So that means this equals 9. And this is still tricky because we haven't had one like this. We always have 9 equals x squared, where we square root it. This is not 9 equals x squared. This is 9 equals the square root of x. So we do the opposite operation of square root, which is square both sides. Square both sides, and when you square root a square, when you square square root, you just get x because they're opposite operations. Just like adding 2 and subtracting 2 may cancel, and so does square root and square. And 9 squared is not positive negative 81. It's just 9 times 9 is 81. So don't put positive negative there. I like that question. Go ahead and start. So when you have to look out for it, and only happen once in the whole unit, so you wouldn't see more than one of them, that's for sure. But it might be a difference between a 95 and a 98. Lastly, 11. This gives you really 2 questions at once, and then you just add the answers together. So g of 4 equals 16, g of negative 2 equals 10, and then you just add them together. And then this is similar to what we just did, except, except you definitely know how to do the radical part. So when you square root, so you subtract 12 to get 40. If you're not sure where the 40 came from, you do the add or subtract first, and now you square root 40, even though you can't square root 40. And it says simplest radical form. That means no decimals. No decimal. And you know how to do this from the radical unit. Perfect square first. Square root 4. And positive negative. If you didn't put the positive negative there, I would be okay with that. But you will have to in grade 11. And we certainly introduced you to positive negative when you square root something. All right, that's homework corrected. First 15 minutes. And again, if you're still correcting homework, you can just hit pause until you correct everything. You don't need to write down half the answer and not have it. And next we're going to go to page 38, new concept. Okay, so function notation part 2 is going to be about graphing. And you need to know that this is exactly the same as this. We talked about that just last class and previous classes. So whenever you see f of x, you think y. That means y. Y is a function of x. That means the exact same thing. In fact, you'll notice that in this is not x and y, it's x and f of x. Okay, so that's your y. Go ahead and do example 1. Graph this on your calculator. And of course, what does that mean? Well, f of x means y, okay? So anytime you see f of x, you can replace it with y. And then, of course, you have a y equals button on your calculator. If you change the window, and let's write this down maybe. You press zoom 6 to reset windows. Okay, so if you had to change your window to negative 2022, negative 2022, the next time you do a question, and you want it to be negative 10, 10, 1, all you have to do is press zoom 6. You don't have to change all those numbers 6 times. Press zoom 6. Zoom is the top button on your calculator. Top middle button. So I'll give you another 30 seconds to sketch that on the graph provided. Y equals clear 3x plus 1. Enter. Graph. So zoom 6. There we go. Where does it hit the x and y? Pretty hard to tell. So I would put the dot here and the dot here, and then just connect the lines. Okay, so a little farther on the bottom, a little closer to the top, but pretty much the same. And sorry, I want to have a, I will try, not bad. Then label it, please. F of x equals 3x plus 1. Beauty. Okay, example 2, you're going to want 25,000 of these questions on the test. Because this is all you do. I'll do one of them, you do the next two. It says express relation and function notation as an equation in 2 variables. What does that mean? It means wherever you see it fx, you put y. And you're done, full marks. So go ahead and do this one, and go ahead and do this one. So this one would be y equals, and your t's would turn into x's. If you didn't do that, that's okay, but make sure you do it next time. So x's and y's, x's and y's. This one's the opposite, so if you didn't understand what was going on here, you just change, you do the opposite of what you did in A, so I'll give you another 10 seconds. And yes, you're right, y turns into f of x. That's all you do there. All right, hopefully page 39 is as fun as page 38. I think I need to do this. There we go. Okay, this is a completely different question than we're used to, so pay attention. And we're going to do a lot of them. And I want you to just go kind of like this. We're going to do all those questions, and then we're going to do the middle questions. Okay, so let's do these ones together. Say it's complete f of 5. Well, there's no function, so we can't substitute 5 in. But what does this tell us? F of 5 tells us that x equals 5. Okay, the number in the bracket equals your x. So write down x equals 5. Then you go to your graph and see where x equals 5. Well, that's 5 to the right. 2, 3, 4. So this is where x equals 5, 5 to the right, and you see where your graph hits it. Okay, so where do I see the graph? 2 down. So that means -2. And this means the point 5, -2 is on the graph. Okay, so 5 tells you to go 5 right. This is going to tell you to go 2 left. It's going to tell you to go 4 right. And see where the graph is 2 left, 4 right, or in this case, 5 to the right. It is at 2 down. So 2 down means -2 on the y-axis, and then that gives you the point 5, -2. Okay, what about this one? F of x equals -1. Well, remember, f of x means y equals -1. So no, now you go to 1 down and see where the graph hits 1 down. In fact, you know what? Let me use a different color for this. So y equals -1. That's 1 down. This is where, oops, where y equals -1. And where does it hit the graph? Right there, where the graph is 1 down from that. Sorry, the graph is 4 to the right on that. So 4, -1 is that point. So what's the values of x? So write down if y equals -1, x equals, well, at this point is -1, sorry, 4, -1. So if the value of y is -1, that value of x is also 4. And now it says also let's do, you know what, I'm going to change that. Let's go ahead and make this easier for you instead of doing 3 more things. Let's just do this. I want you to do all of the middle columns now, and just like the way we did it. Okay, find f of 2, what's the ordered pair, and what does x equal if y equals 3? Yeah, I'm going to pause that until you're ready, and then you can unpause it. Actually, never mind. I'm just going to give you time to do that. Here's another minute. Minute and a half to do that, 30 seconds each. Okay, remember this means x equals -2. That's what the number in the bracket means. Where does x, this is x, equal -2? Right there, and then you go up or down to wherever the graph is. So 1, 2, 3 up. 3 up means 3. It's important that you can translate, excuse me, f of negative, oh, I'm sorry. F of -2 equals 3 into the point -2, 3. Okay, so x equals -2, and remember, ordered pairs always go x, y, and 3 equals the y. It's the function of x. This one says y equals 3. So where does y equal 3? Well, we just have that here. That's 3 up. Right here. And this one's a tricky one. So start. Because there's 2 points on the graph where y equals 3. 1, 2. Okay, so when the graph is 3 up, There's the point 2, 3, and there's the point negative 2, 3. Tricky licky. 2 points. So x equals positive negative 2. All right, your turn. Do the next one. Another 2 minutes to do that. And again, pause, please. Ask me any questions where these numbers are coming from if you're not getting it. We should be getting a little clearer, like we would never seen this before. So it's a matter of learning a new concept, and you can, and you will. And God is giving you a big fat brain. Let's try to get it in there. Good job. Okay, x equals 4. Where does x equal 4? Right here. And that is equal, the point is 4, negative 1. So there's your 4. You put negative 1 right here. I just said your point is 4, negative 1. This is y equals 4. And you guys can let me know whether you can see the yellow good enough. 1, 2, 3, 4. So this is where the graph is 4 up. And there's actually 2 points again. At 4, 1 and 4, negative 1. So x equals positive negative 1 on that one. Okay, tricky licky question. We'll give it 1 for homework. Okay, so for the 1 for homework, I just noticed, I just want you to do the 3s. You don't have to do the 1s and the 2s. That's so. If you do the 1s and 2s, that's fine. Extra practice, but you don't have to. Okay, the other questions are important as well. I like these guys as well. Okay, point A. I'm going to do this with you. Point A is negative 5 and 1. 5 to the left, 1 up. And we have to know how to write that in function notation. So we're going to write it something like this. F of 4. So F of, and then the x goes in the brackets. F of negative 5 equals 1. Okay, you have to know how to translate this point to this notation. Your turn to do point B on the graph. First, tell me what ordered pair it is. And then tell me what function, write it like that. Okay, go ahead. You have a minute, over a minute to do that. Point first. Then remember, x goes in the brackets. Okay, x goes in the brackets. The y goes here. Don't forget to put the f part, otherwise it doesn't make sense. Because negative 5 does not equal 1. So 6 to the right, 1, 2, 3 down. 6, negative 3 is the point you should have got. And then the F goes in the bracket, and the Y goes on the other side of the equal sign. Voila. Similar question here, X and Y intercepts, and be careful, there's two X intercepts here. We're going to do the same thing with our X, Y intercepts. Let's just make sure we have 3 intercepts, not 2. So our X intercepts right here, where the graph hits the X-axis. So right here and right here. Go ahead and write those points, please. And our y-intercept is where our graph hits the y-axis, and of course f of x means y. So write down the y-intercept in proper form. Okay, so this x-intercept is negative 6, 0. This x-intercept is 1, 2, 3 to the right. And this y-intercept is at 0, 5 or 5, 0. Okay, so now you do this with those 3 points. And I also want you to do F, domain and range. We'll give you 3.5 minutes ish. Again, no need to panic. You can just pause it if you need extra time. No worries at all. We all work at different paces. I don't know if you can hear upstairs. I think there must be 2 football teams playing tackle football upstairs with my 3 kids making all that noise. But they are laughing and giggling, so I love it. Okay, so x goes in the brackets equals the y. X goes in the brackets equals the y. And x 0 goes in the brackets equals the y. Yay. Okay, so remember domain means how far left to right it goes on the graph. And this one doesn't have arrows, so it does not go forever left and forever right. It stops right here at negative 6. And it goes all the way to that dot right there. So 1, 2, it goes to 7. So negative 6 to 7. All the numbers in between because it's a connected line. And y, how high does it go? It goes to 5. And how low does it go? Right there. That's where the lowest point goes. Or no, it isn't. Sorry. I should erase this for a second. Almost got caught. Here goes less low. Okay, to negative 4. So how do I write from negative 4 to 5? Don't mix them up. It goes from lowest number to highest number. You're going to have one just like that for homework. To give you some extra, actually not even homework, to do right now. So you've got bottom of page 39 to do on your own right now. Actually, let me pop that. So for number 4, you don't have to do these ones. Just do, look at X, Y. You just have to do this box here. Okay, so you just have to do the 3's in number 4 and then answer all the questions, of course. If you want to, you can do the extra questions as well. Then they also do the top of page 40, and you can hit pause. So you have to do 8 and 10 as well, and when you're done that, you can hit unpause, and the next thing I'll be doing is correcting those questions. Okay, so should take you, I'm not sure, 10, 15, probably 15 minutes-ish, give or take 5 minutes, and then hit unpause. All right, so pause it now. Thank you, and good luck. Ask me any questions that you have. Okay, that's Correctamundo, page 400, or sorry, page 70. Yikes, let me rewind that. That's correct number 2. You'll find it on page 39. And if it says function notation, that just means change y's to f of x's. And I'm not sure why they did that. Oh, I see. They just solve for y, so you get f of x. Yeah, I guess I wouldn't give you that question, but that's f of x, so get y by itself. That's solving systems equations. But make sure, so if you put 2 times f of x here, I understand that, and I'm not going to ask you this question though. You have to solve for y first, because it is more professional math students when you solve for y and you put f of x equals as opposed to it in the middle of the equations. But let me look at those for you. That's what I want to see. Just change your y's to f of x's. And even though you didn't have this, just take a peek. I can also ask you the opposite. Change your f of x to y's. I guess that's not this question. That's the same question. Okay, here's number 4, the big one. How'd you do? How'd you do? How'd you do? So bottom of page 39. You didn't have to do these. If you did, you can go ahead and correct them. So x equals -6. That's right here. 6 to the left. That's x equals -6. So you put the y coordinate. This is -6, 0, up. What point is that? And what about y equals -4? That's a new one. What do you mean no solution? Well, let's check it out. Y equals -4 is 4 down. And where does the graph hit 4 down? It does not. Or you could also put not possible. I'm not going to be too picky on what you say there. Use function notation. I sure hope you got the point A of -7, 1. You must know by now how to, you have to know what point that is. No, that's 8, 4. And sorry, that's -7, 1. And then the xy intercepts. Holy cow, there's 3 of them here. Okay, so 3 x-intercepts. Look at this person. The answer key is noise, right? They forgot the y-intercept. Or no, the y-intercept is the same thing. That's the x and y-intercept. So those are all x-intercepts. I don't know. I would rather say the y-intercept is f of 0 equals 0 as well. But anytime you have 0, 0 as an x-intercept, it's also the y-intercept, or vice versa, because the point 0, 0 is both on the x-axis and the y-axis. Okay, so that's always 0, 0 is always an x and a y-intercept. Domain and range. Domain and range is how far does this graph go? It goes from -7 to 1, 2, 3, 8. And there it is, -7 to 8. How far up and down does it go? The lowest point is at -3, and it goes this high to 4. -3 to 4. There we go. -3 to 4. I know I'm going to say it's fun. I'm crazy, but I love it. Any questions on it, please Google Meet, or chat me, or email me, whichever you feel comfortable with, and I'll be happy to help. And that's my job, help you do math. We just did 1, 2, 3, 4 of these types of questions, and you have one for homework, so you can expect it. Number 8 was next on the top of page 40. Go to the top of page 40 and see what's happening here. Originally, it looks good. 3 to the left, 1, 2, 3, and 2 up. That's what it looks like. That's the point, -3, 2. But then you realize, oh, wait a minute. These don't go up by 1, they go up by 4. 4, 8, 12, 16. Okay, the scale is 4, so that's why it's not 3 to the left. It's 12 to the left. Okay, so that's, and going up 2 means going up 4, 4, so that means goes up 8. And I don't even think I would have got this one. The second part is this is a g function, and they wrote an f a function, but come on. That's like finding Waldo in a red and white airport, and you spend 2 days trying to find him, and you don't know if it's him or not. So as long as you know this part, I'm happy, and you know how to write down this point in function notation. Any point I give you, you should be able to write down in function notation with the x going in the brackets and the y going on the other side of the equal sign. Gives a solution, g of x, that means what, y equals -8. Where does y equal -8? Right here, 8 down. And what x is that? That's 20 to the right. Yay. And what's the value of g of -8? Okay, no, look at this, looks the same. Oh, math is so stupid. That looks so much the same, almost twinsies. But it's not. This means y equals -8. So you might even want to write down a little study note here. Means y equals -8, and g of -8 means x equals -8. And then you study and study and study and study and study and study that. Because this is very, very important to do these questions. You have to know that the number from inside the bracket is x, and you need to know that g of x means y. So this one, does it say x equals -8 or g or y equals -8? Well, the number is in brackets, so that means x equals -8. So I could go 8 to the left on the graph. That's right here. And where does the graph hit it? Right here. So how far up did I go? So -8, so what's the ordered pair? And 12. Okay, -8 and 12 is the ordered pair that we're looking at for that one. So y equals 12. Not sure I didn't put domain and range. I'll let you write that down here for this. Go ahead and write it beside C. Write down the domain and the range of this graph. You don't have that question, just go ahead and write it. It's on the next page. Just write down right here. Write down D, and then write down domain equals and range equals, and don't worry, I'll come back to that page in a second. So page 40, and then go ahead and write down the stuff in red. Notice how we're writing down, instead of y for range, we're writing down g of x or f of x. Okay, I like it. Just write that down. Don't write down y, just to get used to that y is the same thing as g of x or h of x or f of x. Okay. Number 10 is a tricky one, but believe me or not, you can do it without a calculator. Because it says intersects at the y-axis. What does that mean? Y-intercept. What does that mean? What equals 0 for y-intercept? You betcha. So x equals 0. So this information, they're telling you that x equals 0. So what does that mean? That means wherever you see an x, you put 0. So f of 0 equals 4 to the 0 exponent. And remember, anything to the 0 exponent, math karate, hiya! Equals 1. 0 exponent equals 1. 0 equals 1. Hiya! And what point is that? I wouldn't put this. Go ahead and cross that out. I wouldn't put no point on. I would put 1, 0 to make sure you don't put that as opposed to 0, 1. Okay, so make sure you know that x equals 0 and y equals 1. Okay, you have homework on page 40 and 41, and that is it. And you can work on that for the rest of the class. God bless. Have an awesome day. Good job, everyone.